What's up, everybody? Today we'll be talking about Haley Welsh, the Talk to a Girl, as she is finally getting sued for her involvement in the crypto scam. So last year I made a video on this. Apparently at that time she was able to weasel out of consequences by cooperating with the law firm, but now the law firm has backstabbed her, and after getting all the information they needed, they added her to the lawsuit. So we'll talk about that today and more, but first a little channel update. First of all, I want to say a huge thank you to every single one of you. We finally hit 100,000 subscribers. The silver play button is in production right now. It should be in the mail in the next couple weeks. So a massive thank you to you guys. You guys are so awesome. And I do want to apologize for not posting for the last couple weeks. As you may or may not know, I got sued by a nuisance streamer. It's been taking a lot of my time, and that lawsuit is complete bullshit, but I still need to handle it. Now, we're going to talk about that later on in the video. There has been some very positive updates in that lawsuit, but first, let's talk about Haley Welsh. So Haley Welsh came back into the news cycle 2 weeks ago for all the wrong reasons. This is a video by Jamari, almost has 1 million views, and to make a long story short, her career has completely crashed. Instead of doing her podcast, because that failed, she decided to do some live streams. And at one point, she was live streaming to 9 viewers. Keep in mind, this woman used to have millions and millions of views on her podcast. It was one of the top podcasts in the country. And now she can barely crack double digits when it comes to live viewers. I have an extension on my browser that calculates how a video is performing, and her videos are performing 0% of their usual numbers. Now, I've never seen that before. On my channel, for example, I'll have a couple 0.3s, 0.5. Not every video is going to do good. I got lucky with the Jack Doherty. It's at 4.8. But on her channel, it's literally 0% of her usual numbers. So her content creator career is pretty much over. She's cooked, and that is nothing compared to her legal troubles. Let's take a look. Haley Welsh, the Hawk Tua girl, has been named in a new filing for the existing federal class action lawsuit against the creators of the calamitous meme coin launch that she promoted last year. The filing alleges that Welsh was paid potentially up to $325,000 to be a critical component of a token launch that promised features that it could not deliver from a technical standpoint. The new filing says this was no accident and alleges that the coin was designed to crash within minutes of launch, letting insiders cash in on the initial frenzy and then cash out. The social media star and podcast host had previously been left out of the lawsuit filed just weeks after the Solana-based token launch. Welsh said in a now deleted statement on X that she was fully cooperating with the law firm that's suing her business partners to uncover the truth. So this is a pattern that we'll see very often with these crypto scams, is that you'll have this huge disaster that's attached to a celebrity YouTuber, and then the celebrity YouTuber says, "Me, a scammer? Oh, how dare you accuse me? I will investigate my business partners and I will find out the truth." Same thing that happened with Logan Paul. They play all high and mighty. They say they had nothing to do with it and that they will do everything in their power to investigate and root out the corruption. And in my opinion, that's just a diversion tactic. It's pathetic, to be honest, but let's keep reading. Berwick Law, the firm behind the class action lawsuit, previously told Decrypt that it intentionally left Welsh out of the case as it felt it was the most effective way to make its client whole. However, in the latest twist in the tale, Berwick Law has asked the court to allow the firm to amend the class action complaint to include Welsh, her manager Johnny Forster, and company 16 Minutes LLC as defendants. It also added new fraud allegations and is seeking an order to grant alternative ways to serve existing defendants, Clinton So and Over Here Limited, per court listener. Welsh's company, 16 Minutes LLC, signed a meme token creation and monetization agreement with Memetic Labs nearly 5 months before the token launch, the filing said. The contract said that Welsh would promote the token across all social media in exchange for $125,000 upfront, with an additional $200,000 upon meeting promotional milestones. Memetic Labs was granted a 50% lifetime profit share tied to the trading activity, the suit claims. These payments transformed Welch from a passive celebrity into a critical component of a coordinated marketing funnel designed to draw in retail. And she gave them all this information. She pretty much ratted herself out. Now, if she would have been smart about it, what she could have done is say, you know what, I'm going to cooperate with your law firm and your investigation. I will rat my friends out, but I need a contract that promises you will not add me to the lawsuit later. She didn't do that. She just gave all that information, ratted all her friends, and now her dumbass is getting sued too. You really can't make this shit up. She is so incredibly stupid. But then again, what else do you expect from someone who got famous for her memeable blowjob technique? The Hawk Tuah token was promoted by Welch as a transformational cultural token, the new filing says, which would be integrated with Welch's podcast to offer subscription style benefits. However, the token had none of the technical components to actually build this, the suit says. Hawk soared to a market capitalization of 490 million within less than 15 minutes after launch, before immediately collapsing 93% in value. The suit claims that this didn't happen due to mismanagement, but rather it was designed to perform that way. It says that insiders bought up large portions of the supply before selling 1.27 million in tokens just minutes after launch. The pseudonyms wallets orchestrating the scams were not random actors. Blockchain forensics revealed that the same wallets clusters funded, executed, or laundered proceeds from multiple other rug pulls, including Libra, M3, AI, and the infamous Trump snipe, the lawsuit states. The timing patterns, funding flows, and extraction method across these schemes are nearly identical. Libra was a token promoted by Argentine President Javier Milei, and it collapsed hours after launching. It has since found itself at the center of multiple lawsuits and legal probes, including one led by Berwick Law, which ties its team to First Lady Melania Trump's meme coin, as well as the M3 token launch. And President Trump promoted an officially licensed Solana meme coin in January that had its value tank a couple days after launch. Berwick Law alleges that these were all rug pulls and followed similar on-chain patterns to what was seen with Hawk. As a result, Welch has been named in the latest amendment to the class action lawsuit due to her role in promoting the token based on misrepresentations about the token's potential utilities. The influencer's manager, Forster, has also been named, as the filing claims he was responsible for Welch's branding, including the embrace of the Hawk token, and also promoted the meme coin himself. Finally, 16 Minutes LLC was added as a defendant, as it is the operating entity for Welch's career that signed the monetization agreement, the filing states. Honestly, you can't make this shit up. It's pretty unbelievable. The self-snitching is just something else. Like, lady, you gave them all the information they needed to put you in the lawsuit. Like, it's so stupid. But then again, like I said, it's not really surprising. So that's the update on the Hawk Tuah girl, live streaming to 9 people, facing a massive lawsuit. It's not looking good. But like I said earlier, I want to update you guys on the lawsuit that I'm involved in. I'm a defendant in it, and it's complete nonsense. For those who don't know, I was sued by this nuisance streamer called Denver Metro Audits. Now, this guy, in my opinion, is a very strange individual. He advocates for the viewing of pornography in libraries.
And have any of you heard of me watching porn in the library? I have, however, said that the benefit of banning it doesn't outweigh the risk to pornography in a library. Banning pornography, the benefits don't outweigh the risk.
And in my opinion, last month he posted a video of him harassing a mentally disabled woman. He saw this lady, he got into a confrontation with her, she walked away from him, and then he followed her to continue the confrontation so he could get more clicks and views on his channel. Now, this video is truly disgusting, and even his audience called him out for his absolutely vile behavior in that video. And I'll leave the link to his video in my description, because I don't want you to take my word for it. Go check out for yourself. Do you think he was harassing this mentally disturbed woman? And then come back over here and let me know. But besides that, this guy, I've been calling him out for years. I really don't like what he does and how he, in my opinion, preys on people. And lately, he had a problem with me using his videos, doing fair use transformative videos, and he filed a lawsuit. So far, this lawsuit has cost me $24,000. That's why we did a GoFundMe, but I'll talk to you about that in just a moment. There has been a really good development because I was able to find a clip from 2022 where he appeared on my live stream and gave me what you do. You have your audience and I have mine. Take a look at this video from 2022.
I kind of lost my ways a little bit because I was, I preach a lot on my spiritual channel that what you resist persists, right? And that fighting for peace is like shouting for silence. So, as far as like going against you and being like, oh, I'm going to sue you and all that kind of stuff, that's just perpetuating it and making everything worse, I feel like. So, I don't have any problem with what you guys do. You guys do your own thing. You guys have your followers that disagree with what we do, and that's fine. And I don't have anything against you guys. You guys do what you do, and I do what I do.
So I just found out that we still had access to this video in my StreamYard archives last week. So now that we have this video, I sent it to his lawyer, and my lawyer explained, like, look, you're probably going to lose, that you should maybe drop this case because my client clearly had permission. On top of that, he had written permission, and his lawyer didn't want to drop the case, even though he knew very well that they are most likely going to lose when it gets to trial. So in my opinion, their last plan that is available, the last ditch effort, is to hope that I run out of PayPal. But then I realized, you know what? A GoFundMe would have more transparency. People can get updates, and it will just be easier to track for the audience and for myself to see how much money is coming in and how much money is going out. So if you guys do want to help with the GoFundMe and our legal fees, I really appreciate that. The link is in the pinned comment and in the description. You don't have to, but if you have a couple extra bucks and you want to help us, it means a lot. Thank you so much for watching. I'll keep you guys updated on both situations, the bullshit lawsuit from this Karen and also the very real legitimate lawsuit against Haley Welch. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next one.
He used to look like a model, now he looks insane. As someone who used to watch him since the beginning, I strongly believe that it's either drugs or mental health decline. It just started getting weird. Jeremy Fragrance, who went from having the appearance of a He used to look like a model, now he looks insane. As someone who used to watch him since the beginning, I strongly believe that it's either drugs or mental health decline. It just started getting weird. This dude aged like dry leather over 10 years. Holy shit. These comments perfectly summarize the way people now feel about the perfume influencer Jeremy Fragrance, who went from having the appearance of a perfectly structured GQ model to looking like this in a matter of months, where he once won the Consumer Choice Award for the best vlog at the 2018 Fragrance Foundation Awards, is now making bizarre, borderline uncomfortable videos that test the limits of what should even be allowed on YouTube.
Today I did not off before my video, which I normally do, but I keep my to have a maximum impact in my face. I use this technique in certain videos, but if you overdo it, it's too much. So you gotta handle and understand your energy. It gives you ultimate power. It gives you the strength to convince people.
And if that wasn't bad enough, he was recently caught straight up sexually harassing women as well.
Seeing your face and seeing you talk, totally a boner in my pants, but I'm not going to show it.
Hi, I'm the Internet Anarchist. I create weekly YouTube documentaries, and today we'll be diving into the deserved and strange downfall of Jeremy Fragrance. How he captivated audiences during the peak of his career, why his personality ended up doing a complete 180, and how he's been getting increasingly desperate while trying to find a girlfriend. But you know what I'm desperate for? For you to subscribe. So go ahead and hit that big subscribe button and let's get on with the video. The rise of Jeremy Fragrance is easily one of the most unexpected success stories on YouTube. Jeremy, real name Daniel Stradinsky, never really planned on becoming a YouTuber. He wanted to be a rock star instead. He tried his luck with a German boy band called Part 6 between 2008 and 2010. And when that didn't take off, he went solo, releasing his own single in 2011, titled All of Me. But when his music career fizzled out completely, he turned to something completely different. He created his YouTube channel in 2014 and uploaded his very first video comparing perfumes of all things.
Lady killer scents, and you know the stories about these two fragrances.
Surprisingly, it worked. The video ended up amassing over 500k views to date, putting Jeremy on many people's radar. That early success to keep going. Jeremy was working as a part-time model at the time, which became the core part of his content at the time as well. But what truly set him apart on YouTube was his uncanny ability to vividly describe every scent, breaking it down in a way anyone could understand. Armed with his trademark spin and dashing suits and charismatic personality, Jeremy would help his audience visualize every scent by assigning personalities to them.
The daring category, okay? This is your daring fragrance, and ladies love a man that is bold, that is daring.
He mixed that talent with fast-paced list-style videos that hit the YouTube algorithm just right, helping him go viral twice in his first year, with one video hitting 1.8 million and another crossing 1.1 million views. As one of the comments on his video puts it, "This guy can make you hear smells." Fast forward a couple years, and Jeremy had built a loyal audience consisting of mostly men looking to up their fragrance game. He saw this demographic and formulated a plan to maximize engagement, and this took the form of him bringing in female models on camera and having them test different scents and pick their favorites for specific occasions. This worked like a charm, with the female approval angle drawing mass appeal and helping his videos explode in views. He was sitting at over 2.5 million subscribers on YouTube and over 10 million followers on TikTok in just a few years. But what kept people watching wasn't just his energy or the models, it was the raw, unfiltered way he ran his channel. Sometimes he'd just walk off mid-video to open the door without even cutting between.
That was really hardcore. I gotta open the door real quick. 1 second, guys. Okay, guys. Received some new samples.
Other times, he would purposely play into his character to entertain his audience.
I will smash my head into the wall now, but not too strong. Okay.
But his fans would stay glued to the screen all the times, fascinated by Jeremy's passion, energy, and charisma. As one viewer put it, "Man, I've never met a dude more passionate about fragrances in my life. That was ridiculously entertaining." Unfortunately, just when Jeremy was at the top of his game and had everyone convinced that he was one of the most genuine guys on YouTube, his mask started to slip. The first cracks in Jeremy's wholesome image started showing all the way back in 2017, when he asked his fans to donate to his Patreon so that he could afford a new laptop for editing his videos. Thousands of loyal fans chipped in, sending him money so he could supposedly upgrade his setup and improve video quality. But just a few weeks later, Jeremy shocked everyone by dropping a new YouTube video titled My New Car. In it, he proudly showed off his brand new Ferrari, filming the entire buying process and then taking a victory lap in it, all while his fans were convinced that he couldn't even afford a new laptop without their help. And as you might imagine, fans were not happy, with one disappointed viewer writing, "He literally begged for donations and then went and bought a Ferrari with them. It's sad and disingenuous. I hope he looks in the mirror one day and sees what he has become." Unfortunately, this comment and all of the others like it didn't see the light of day for very long, because instead of addressing the backlash, Jeremy quietly deleted all the negative comments while continuing to flaunt his new Ferrari like nothing happened. And somehow, the outrage faded, his fans slowly moved on, and the whole thing got buried eventually. However, Jeremy wasn't done digging himself into a deeper hole. The next big controversy arrived with the launch of his own fragrance brand, Fragrance One, at the start of 2019. According to Jeremy, the goal behind the brand was simple. Instead of trying to navigate the fragrance jungle, we give you a very clear answer. Wear this when doing that. It's simple and effective. And as it turned out, he'd already set himself up for major success by collaborating with the legendary perfumer Alberto Morillas, the man responsible for creating several iconic scents for major brands like Calvin Klein, Dolce & Gabbana, Giorgio Armani, and many others. With his help, Jeremy devised the formula for his first perfume, and once completed, made the big announcement on YouTube.
So this will be called Office for Men. It is our very first fragrance, the best office fragrance currently on the market in my eyes.
And even though he was now working with one of the biggest names in the perfume world, Jeremy wanted his fans to believe that he hadn't forgotten where he came from, emphasized by what he claimed to be the major selling point of his brand and perfumes.
I have tried to find the best solution for you to skip the jungle of fragrances when you go into a fragrance store. Oh, which fragrance should I take? Does this last long? Is this mass appealing? Do I get compliments? What fragrance should I buy?
And thus started his Kickstarter campaign, where he asked his loyal followers for help in turning his dream into a full-fledged business. The target of the campaign was to raise $25,000, which was hit within minutes. But the fans kept chipping in, and by the time the Kickstarter ended, Jeremy had raised nearly $800,000, making this the biggest crowd-funded fragrance in history. With his dream finally within reach, Jeremy kicked off an aggressive marketing campaign. Now, according to his early plans, the Office for Men fragrance was supposed to be valued at somewhere around €39 or $45. This would have kept his promise of offering a cheaper alternative to luxury perfumes. But just before launch day, Jeremy suddenly announced that the perfume would actually be priced at €140. Basically, the same price as high-end luxury brands. The backlash and accompanying scammer label was immediate, but he didn't seem to care. You'd think that would have been a wake-up call, especially since his entire brand was built on the support of those same fans. But instead of backing down, Jeremy ended up nearly doubling the price of all his fragrances a couple of months later, inviting even more hate from his audience and turning his once loyal fan base against him. What made this move even more bizarre was how Jeremy chose to justify the insane price increase.
And I'm going to tell you now why the price of my fragrance will be tripled soon. You gotta know, fragrances to me are like an art form. Fashion is an art form. Art obviously is also an art form. And some cars to the extent are also an art form. And what does a car manufacturer do? They produce a very small amount of cars to make them exclusive.
And while that reasoning might have sounded convincing initially, it completely fell apart when Jeremy himself went on TikTok to brag about how cheap his manufacturing process was.
The production cost of a fragrance. First, you buy the glass bottle. The glass bottle is about 50 cents, 50. Then you got the sprayer right here. This is another 50 cents. So we're at a $1. Then you got the cap. This is another 50 cents. Then you got the box around it, which is another 50 cents. So you're at $2 now for this empty stuff. You need the juice inside. The juice is the most expensive one. It's about $3. So 3 plus 2 is $5. And then you pay for the finished fragrance.
This sparked a new, even more intense wave of backlash against Jeremy, with people leaving tons of negative reviews on his products and website. There were also several horror stories surfacing of people paying full price for one of his perfumes, but the bottle never arriving or being smashed into pieces on arrival. But as bad as scamming and disappointing his own audience was, Jeremy somehow managed to make things even worse, all in an attempt to expand his public image and connections. It all started in December 2023, when Jeremy decided to attend an event hosted by the New York Republican Club, where Donald Trump was the main speaker. At the event, he posted several Instagram stories with controversial figures, including David Bendals, 38-year-old editor-in-chief of the Deutschland Courier, also known for his ties to the right-wing populist Alternative Party for Germany, Alexander Klein, a 31-year-old YouTuber and prominent activist in the German branch of the Identification movement, and the Austrian politician and TV commentator Gerald Gross. Though, unlike his previous controversies, he couldn't ignore this one even if he wanted to. Within days of these images appearing on his socials, he lost all of his existing brand deals and endorsements, with brands like Sky Deutschland and Aldi North publicly dropping all their content and ads with him. Sky even went as far as pulling his ongoing documentary, which had been airing since October. stating, "We clearly distance ourselves from any far-right content or statements." Even the high-profile publishing house, Hill Verlag, which had previously released a book about him, announced that they would no longer work with him. According to Jeremy, this incident also cost him a major deal, making him lose out on potential millions.
I should have had a big money deal with a German fragrance chain, which would have given me about 300,000 to up to more than $1 million. And it just exploded because I was in a show where I took pictures with multiple people, and one of those guys...
But here's the thing. These brands didn't just drop him because of the photos. They did it because Jeremy himself had changed. And this change perhaps should have been Odoo Project to better manage his channel and business. This video is sponsored by Odoo, the all-in-one business management platform for all kinds of business needs, such as invoicing, accounting, projects, inventory, websites, and everything else an entrepreneur could dream of. One of their apps, Odoo Project, allows you to set up different projects with custom deadlines and milestones. Under the project, you have different views with their own benefits. Kanban views show the tasks in card form with custom stages, like research, script, edit, upload. Gantt, real-time do's, calls, meetings, and reminders so nothing slips through the cracks. Start using Odoo Project today. Your first app is free for life with unlimited hosting and support. You can access Odoo's other apps starting from €19.90 per month. With that being said, thank you Odoo, and let's get back into the video. You see, one of the biggest reasons Jeremy had blown up in the first place, more than any other fragrance influencer, was his suave, confident, and put-together personality. His sharp suits, perfectly combed hair, and easy charisma made him feel like an authority on attraction. It was a major part of his appeal, and his audience let him know about it, with comments like, "I'm very straight, but he's one handsome dude," and "Bro, you can wear sunblock and get the best compliments ever." But by 2023, that image had completely fallen apart. The shift started subtly, with Jeremy hyping himself up as the best fragrance influencer in the world after allegedly finding religion.
I'm Jeremy Fragrance, the #1 fragrance icon that follows the teachings of Jesus. Nobody has done what I have done in the fragrance industry. I'm the best in the category of fragrances. I'm Jeremy Fragrance, the #1 fragrance icon that follows the teachings of Jesus.
This still seems somewhat normal, considering how almost every influencer hypes themselves as the best at some point in their career. Like me, I'm the best. But then, he started posting the tagline, the #1 fragrance icon that follows the teaching of Jesus everywhere. From the description of his YouTube channel, to the caption of all of his videos on YouTube. But that was still nothing compared to the change in his appearance. He started dressing exclusively in all-white outfits, coupled with a large cross chain hanging around his neck. His hair looked noticeably drier and more brittle, while his face felt like it had aged 10 years in the span of a few months, capped off by his strangely hollow eyes. And this new look came hand in hand with a weird shift in personality, making Jeremy feel erratic and unpredictable in his newer videos.
With the Special Forces of Pakistan, I'm the guy that was nominated twice for the Fragrance Award and won it twice. I'm the #1, I'm the best, I'm the champion. I'm Jeremy Fragrance, the #1 fragrance icon that follows the teachings of Jesus.
It didn't take long for people to start comparing him to Patrick Bateman in The American Psycho, especially after he started posting pictures like this on his Instagram. But despite all the mockery and memes, Jeremy still decided to go all in on short-form content. For example, he'd often post the same TikTok 5 times in a row as algorithm bait, see which version performed the best, and then delete the others. As time passed, he started chasing reactions, doing stranger and wilder stunts to stay in the spotlight. What began as harmless, slightly goofy bits on YouTube soon escalated to odd, borderline uncomfortable TikToks like this bizarre dance with an unknown woman. Things became so strange that his audience started wondering if he had started taking some really strong drugs. As one viewer jokingly put it, "I think he doesn't only sniff fragrances at this point." And they might have had a point, because Jeremy's sniffing content soon spiraled into something completely unhinged.
This is literally my favorite smell. You know what this is? It's ghee.
His videos of sniffing Nutella specifically became one of the most bizarrely popular memes on the internet during that time.
I used to be addicted to this. I'm smelling this now for the first time since a long time.
However, that still had nothing on his reaction to sniffing pizza.
Okay, let's smell it. I want to have sex with this pizza.
And his comments on milk.
So good. No wonder they say that goat milk is the most similar to mother's milk. It smells so gorgeous.
Which unsurprisingly led to a wave of memes comparing him to Homelander from The Boys. But while some viewers found it all hilarious, his longtime fans started growing genuinely concerned about his content, which had gone from him offering expert advice on perfumes to absolute slop of him doing weird dances and having crazy reactions to smelling different things. Meanwhile, the drug abuse rumors only grew louder, especially after he moved to Miami, with a commenter stating, "Moved to Miami and became addicted to drugs is far more accurate than became religious." That concern only grew deeper when Jeremy began posting shirtless videos of himself. Sure, he still had a fair bit of muscle, but he still looked noticeably skinnier, dehydrated compared to his body from just a few years ago. But whenever his audience would confront him about his deteriorating health, he'd come up with the same narcissistic response that bordered on extreme denial.
I got the six-pack, I got the good vibes, I got the red Ferrari, I got the golden Rolex, I'm a millionaire, I love what I do, I say fuck you and your f***ing ass if I want to say that.
And when it came to the drug rumors, he'd completely deny them, claiming that everything people saw on camera was an act to get more views.
I know what works, of course. I know that the jumping energy person works a lot, and I do it without any drugs. It's very good for me.
Have you ever done drugs?
No, never in my life I've taken any drugs except drinking alcohol.
He even claimed that the rumors didn't bother him, but still somehow ended up making a video trying to debunk them once again. However, he only managed to affirm everyone's suspicions, as he walks down the street shirtless, eating protein powder off lettuce in a cardboard box. But as bad as this might have seemed, his longtime fans were still relieved that this new erratic attitude hadn't invaded his long-form videos. Until it did. Out of nowhere, his YouTube fragrance review videos started turning weirdly sexual as well, with plenty of inappropriate and weird comments about the perfumes he was discussing.
Oh yeah. Oh yes.
This was highlighted the most in one of his most famous videos reviewing Perry Ellis 360 Red, where he'd start off by making some weird comments about the perfume.
And the last one I don't talk so much about is Perry Ellis 360 Red. I love it, man. It's the dildo of the fragrance industry.
Then go off on a tangent that showed his flawed mental state.
And yeah, it's not so funny actually. Still don't know how to talk about the topic of masturbating. It's difficult, man. I do it, but I don't come.
And eventually reveal how depressed he really was.
All right, ultimately, of course, I want to have a girlfriend and a wife. Turning that girlfriend into a wife and have great kids. So that's Perry Ellis 360 Red.
There were several other notable instances as well, where he would make the weirdest comments that seemed to come out of nowhere.
And you know what I just did 5 minutes ago? I stimulated my... Not that I came, but I was on my Instagram, I was chatting with girls, and blah.
And some of them were so out of place that his viewers started questioning how this was still allowed on YouTube.
Today I did not jump off before my video, which I normally do, but I keep my semen to have a maximum impact on my face. I use this technique in certain videos, but if you overdo it, it's too much. So you gotta handle and understand your sexual energy. Gives you ultimate power. It gives you the strength to convince people.
Behavior like that turned Jeremy from one of the biggest authorities on fragrances to a total joke, often dubbed the strangest man on the internet. By this point, most people were more amused by his antics than anything. Sure, he'd lost most of his credibility, but he wasn't unredeemable. That was until he sparked a bigger controversy that changed everything. and this time it wasn't funny at all. For years, the fragrance community had brushed off Jeremy's sexual comments as jokes, his odd way of keeping people entertained. Sure, his comments about loneliness and not having a girlfriend were slightly concerning, but most people didn't think much of them, until Jeremy ended up getting exposed by fellow model and influencer Sarah Harris, who posted screenshots like, "You woman, you know what I do with you. After we have our dinner in a fine restaurant together, and you wear your dress in that evening, you know what we do after then, Sarah." And when Sarah tried to shut down his advances, he replied with an even stronger message that crossed the line completely. "It will happen intensely, babe. You will wear a pretty black dress and show your like you always show. I go with you to restroom. You start my then for 2 minutes." Sarah, to her credit, kept her composure, simply replying, "That's a dream that you have, it will never happen." It was pretty clear that Jeremy had wrongly assumed that just because she wore revealing outfits she'd be easy to charm. However, when she rejected him again and again, he didn't take it too well, and that's when his messages turned from creepy to outright disrespectful. You are not 18 years old and you know time is passing. Use your time now wisely and choose the best people for you, for the future, and for big you give. I'm sure you know which great men deserve great things from you. At this point, Sarah became annoyed as well, rightfully clapping back with a few insults of her own, which undoubtedly bruised Jeremy's ego, leading to him lashing out, stating, "Have fun in life. The clock is ticking. You should man's now to get your validation back that I took from you." Once these messages hit the internet, his reputation went into freefall. The same people who felt bad for him now wanted nothing to do with him, leaving comments like, "Dude is a certified effing clown," and "I definitely believe he's pressured girls plenty of times. He's a total lunatic and narcissist." Now, you'd think that that type of public humiliation would make anyone take a step back and reflect. But not Jeremy. He ended up doubling down instead. This time, he'd grown tired of struggling to find a girlfriend, so he started holding auditions on his Instagram.
"I'm looking for a girlfriend. You must be Christian and you must be under 32.
And when he actually found women who met his requirements, he'd add them on Snapchat of all places. But not long after, even the women who actually wanted to talk to him had to come up and expose him for the weird videos he was sending them, where he would make fun of their looks,
Hey, pretty woman with the intense teeth.
ask inappropriate questions,
And is it possible at your age that you're still a virgin, Maria?"
and even make vulgar comments towards them.
Seeing your face and seeing you talk, totally a boner in my pants, but I'm not going to show it.
This incident eventually became the final straw, turning Jeremy Fragrance from eccentric or chaotic to a full-blown creep. He's lost everything he had, his charm, humor, or even respect, and his recent numbers reflect that. Nowadays, Jeremy is considered a classic example of what happens when you sabotage your own career. People on the internet have speculated on why Jeremy might have ended up this way, with many leaning towards the substance abuse theory. I think him inhaling all those fragrances has damaged his brain. Personally, I think his behavior is more of a symptom of serious deep-rooted mental issues. Regardless of the reason, however, the outcome is the same. After the harassment scandal and the type of messages he sent to girls being exposed, it feels like his career has passed the point of no return. That said, there are still plenty of people rooting for him to make a comeback and get back to being the Jeremy they once aspired to be.
am going to be taking a look at a show that is a copy of another show which copies another show. You remember Family Guy? You remember when you liked Family Guy? And after season 8, things kind of started to go awry, and you know, they just like to throw random things at the dartboard, just constant cutaways, no setups to any jokes, and just random plot lines, hoping and praying that you'll laugh. Yeah, the Family Guy Dark Ages, I like to call it. Well, what if I told you that a studio looked at that and was like, let's copy that. We need 5 people, we need a talking animal, and we need a slightly different setting, and we're just gonna shoot for the stars. And we were left with Brickleberry. I did not like Brickleberry. I did not find it enjoyable. I thought it was just random, gross out, or nonsensical humor that just didn't work, especially in a 22-minute format. And then I was just blasted with my comment section, watch Paradise PD! Paradise PD! What is Paradise PD? Well, it's made by the same exact people, and they just were like, oh man, we had a show that kind of failed that only a small minority of people like. What if we just made the exact same show, but they're at a police department instead of being park rangers? 1 season, 2 seasons, 3 seasons, we need it all! Yeah, that just doesn't sound like it's gonna work. It sounds like an 85-year-old man trying to do his wife one more time, and he just walks up to her, and he gets it up. He surprisingly got it up, and all that comes out is just dust. I don't understand how you could take a show that is slightly awful, you know, it's not the worst thing that's ever been made, but I would never want to watch it again, and just be like, oh man, this format is incredible, let's make another show just like it. And I may sound negative, but I am going to be going into this hoping that it's either so bad that it's good, or it is actually a good show. That is the question. Is Paradise PD good or bad? And if you like content just like this, please make sure to like and subscribe. I upload almost every single day, and you don't want to miss it. And if you want a place where you can talk about your favorite shows, movies, games, all that good stuff, my Discord will be in the description. Now let's take a look at Paradise PD. The first episode I'm going to be taking a look at with a 7.3 on IMDb is Christmas in Paradise. And yes, it's a Christmas special. Did it lift me up? Did the festivities and holiday joy bring my spirits up to give this episode a phenomenal ranking? No. This is disgusting, abhorrent, and I don't know how people could possibly greenlist something like this. And believe it or not, this is the best episode in the series. It's the highest rated, so I'm scared for the rest of the episodes. This show has a horrible, horrible future. It's just like Brickleberry if they were to take all the worst aspects and just multiply it to 100. It's so odd. They have this insane obsession that genitalia equals funny. Oh my god, is that a man's penis? Wow, oh my god, I'm gonna be rolling on the floor laughing for days because there's just a penis on screen. God, that's what you call comedy. No setting it up, no delivery, just wow, you have a penis. Is that soft? Or is that hard? Yeah, that's really funny, man. And then they also have the same obsession that Brickleberry had in some aspects, where they really like killing animals. And I'm not like a PETA guy. I love me some bacon, some steak. I love a good rousing round of meat. You know, I'm all for it. But when you just kill animals, no build-up, no setup, just for the sake of murdering animals, I don't find it funny. There's literally a scene in this episode where this guy just picks up a possum and just explodes its head with his hand for no reason. No build up to the joke, nothing to amplify a scene, and then it's immediately glossed over. There was absolutely no reason for this guy to kill that possum. It just happened. And that's just something they do throughout the entire episode. It's so odd. But either way, let's get into the fun, shall we? This episode opens with this small Santa being crushed by a fat man who's one of the main characters. His name is Dusty, and he's big, and the entire joke is, oh, I'm so heavy, and I'm sitting on Santa. And he wants a choo-choo train, and Santa's like, oh, my femur, get off me, big boy.
Santa, I want a pony. My last one hung himself.
And so there's a mom who wants her child to get a turn on Santa, and so he gets off, and then we learn that the mom's kid is just even bigger than the guy and sits on him. So we just got 2 double whammy bad jokes off the beginning, and they didn't really land. It's not like the jokes themselves are atrocious by any means. They're fine. It's not good. It's not bad. It's just like average. If you like watching a mole Santa get crushed by really obese people, then it's your cup of tea. Personally, it didn't land for me. But guess what? You're just gonna have rapid fire comedy, so if you didn't get like that joke, there's gonna be another joke to maybe make you laugh. The perfect way to write a show. Don't set up anything, don't explain anything, just have things happen for no reason, yeah, so we get to the hospital, and there's this character named Kevin who is exploring this, like, drug deal murder, put this one character in a coma. His name is Fitzgerald, I think, and he's just sitting there in the coma, and we get this gag where he's, like, dying, and the doctors keep trying to bring him to life. That was whatever. Again, it's just that rapid-fire comedy with no setup, no, like, reason to happen. Let's beat this dying man's chest! Live, damn you! Live! It's just whatever. I don't really care. Then we cut to the Paradise PD office, and we get a whole lot of shenanigans here. We have the big guy Dusty, who wants to make Christmas happen so that he can get his choo-choo train. Good for him. And then we meet this girl who is, like, obsessively in love with him and wants to just feel all of his tubby lard all up in her. She wants it real bad. Nothing like a big man's lard to fill you up. That's all you could ever really ask for, right? You know, nothing like lard for Christmas. She's really obsessed with this guy, like wants him so bad. Good for her, but it's kind of obsessive. But Dusty says if he gets the holiday spirit and gets the choo-choo train, then he's willing to give her a smooch. So, yes, a consensual smooch is what she is after. And then, of course, we get introduced to the dog in the series. I don't remember his name. I don't care, because guess what he is? He's cynical. He hates the world. He's an asshole. Why can't adult animations just make a dog? That is cool. That is a vibe. Brian Griffin objectively sucks. The bear from Brickleberry was atrocious and annoying. And here, we have another character who is an animal, who talks, who is a cynical asshole. What is with it? I don't get it. Why do adult animation shows always have to make the talking animal such a prick? I'll never get it. I don't get it. It just makes no sense. We then, of course, cut to the chief and his girlfriend, who is also the father of Kevin, and they're just talking about doing dirty, nasty things to each other. He's like, will you jug my balls like a mime? And then she goes down on him, and that's the entire joke. Will you juggle my balls like a mime? And then the son walks in, the mom gives the son a smooch, and he's like, oh man, this tastes kind of funky. What you eat, asparagus? Man, that was really funny. He just tasted his dad's ball juice. My God, I'm thrilled, I'm jazzed, I'm feeling so festive and Christmassy. Wow. So he's now trying to figure out who is causing all of the drug dealings and the murders. He suspects his father, but then he decides to lean into Gina. That's the girl that's Dusty. And I know I'm explaining a lot of things. There's just so much stuff going on. So he decides to stay the night at Gina's, and there's a lot of stuff in this episode that I can't show on screen, but Gina has a statue of Dusty naked, which is already a whole entirely level of weird, and she goes to sleep, and she pulls a latch on its penis, which opens her security camera room, and we get into one of the strangest things that I've probably ever seen, just like written or done. We Dusty, the big man, he's laying on the floor naked, and he's like, oh my gosh, it's bath time! And a bunch of cats on the security camera, they just run up his body and start licking him everywhere, like 10 cats. And then Gina, the girl that's obsessed with him, she's wearing a cat suit and just goes straight for his balls and starts a licking.
Mr. President, you get big. Hey, don't lick me there.
Why? I mean, like, I guess you're just going for shock value humor, but this isn't the type of thing that's gonna get me to laugh. It's gonna make me question everything and question the people writing this and if they like it. I feel like they like it. I don't know. It's just, oh, it's so odd. So we then cut to Dusty the next day, who is singing a Christmas song, which was whatever. It wasn't very good. It's average. But I do like singing it to the entire town, and just the second he stops, they all jump him and beat him. That got me to laugh. I enjoyed that. Because it was set up well. You know, you get to see everybody reacting to him. They're not into this Christmas stuff. They hate it. So, of course, they're gonna jump him after he's trying to spread some holiday cheer. Fuck that guy. Fuck you. Like, it makes sense. It makes sense why they did that to him, which is probably why it made me laugh more than anything else. It was surprising, yes, but it was actually set up. Wow. You set up a joke and it made me laugh? What a concept. What an interesting concept. It's so odd. So we then cut to this Christmas party, and again, they're violating the man who is supposedly in a coma by just, like, force feeding him a lot of eggnog, which was very interesting. We have more stuff with the cynical dog being cynical. He hates his life. I don't care. And then we get some thrilling comedy where they use the guy who's supposedly in a coma, and they're just like, wow, Congo with a black man.
Congo with the black guy.
Did that make you laugh? Did that get you up out of your seat? Just, yeah, baby. Woo, yeah, baby. They were doing the Congo with his body, and they said, Congo with a black man. Was that the best setup joke you've ever heard? Was that thrilling? Was that interesting? Was that amazing? Yeah, I bet it was. That's the equivalent of me saying, oh, why did the chicken cross the road? And then I just didn't say anything else. It's brain dead. It's actually just doesn't even require you to write anything down. It's just nonsensical bullshit. So, oh yeah, sorry, I have my notes over here. We then cut to Kevin, and he is sitting in the bathroom, and he's like going to find some evidence, and there's this old guy he suspects, and he sees a hole in the wall, and he's just like, glory! I found some evidence! And he does that, but less funny, and he just sticks his mouth in it. I can't show this part of the episode, but the old man puts his, silly willy through it, and yeah, he gets a little taste, and then he has the conversation with the old man. He's trying to figure out what he knows, and yeah, he just got a penis in his mouth, and that's supposed to be the comedy of it. Again, no setup, just walks in, sees a hole in the wall. Oh my god, this is so good! Oh my god! You must be a murderer! Great. Unbelievable. It's so good. And, and then we cut to Kevin, who is now suspecting his father again. He's done with Dusty, he's done with Gina. He's still trying to find out who's doing the murders, who's doing all the drug-related stuff, and he got, a bit of a suspect because of the old guy, so he's suspecting his own father is doing that. And so he goes to the house, and that's where we get even more animal abuse, to where he's hunting for everything, and he's like, what if he hid the drugs in the gerbil? So we just cut to him blending the gerbil. Gerbil. Nope. Hilarious. It's not even, he doesn't even crack a wise joke like, oh man, I that sure put me in a furball. I don't fucking know. I can't make a joke of it because it's not a joke. It's just him killing a gerbil for no reason. It's wild. And then he has this anecdote where he's telling a grandiose story about when he found his father with boobs. And that's fine. His father stopped taking his testosterone. So, you think it'd be a normal thing where he walks in on his dad and he's like, oh, Dad, I didn't know he had boobies. No, he runs up to him and he's like, let me fondle him. Let me fondle him right now. I need to fondle him. Dad, please, I want to fondle your titties. I need them so badly. Yeah, I can't show that on screen for obvious reasons, but you could understand what I'm going through, can't you? Can't you relate to the immense comedy I'm feeling deep inside of me? The immense jokes that are just coursing through my veins? I've never felt more laughter come out of my body than making this video. So, he then goes back to the hotel room and not the hotel, the hospital room, and he's talking to the guy in the coma, and for some reason there's just the killer's phone on the floor, and of course that makes sense later in the episode, I guess, but right then, there was no build up to that. The entire story just goes out of the way, because why would the killer's phone or the drug dealer's phone be right there on the floor for you to pick up and then call the guy? It just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. Nothing is addressed in this episode. It's just things happening. So we then cut to everybody celebrating at this Christmas tree. We get the possum dying joke.
Okay, Robbie, who needs to jerk off a two-man bobsled team when you can do this?
And Dusty, he's with a bunch of people singing a horrible, atrocious song about hating Jews. Yeah, because that spreads holiday cheer, I guess. I don't know. It's not like I was offended by it. Like, I don't care. It's humor. It's comedy, but it served no purpose in the episode. It's just there. It's just there. And then they stop singing, and there's just this guy who shows up, and they're like, look, a black man. Look, he's naked. Look at his penis.
Sign in for the gangbang?
I can't tell if that wiener's big or just looks big on you, little man.
Wow. My God. I should do stand-up, really. I'll just walk in there, get up to the microphone, and just go, cock, dick, schlong. and then I'll probably get to star in movies. I'll get my own show. I'll get to go to Saudi Arabia and just get that blood money because I said penis. Yeah, it's just wild, the decisions that they made while writing this episode. I'll never understand it. I'll never relate to anything that's going on. And, yeah, there is one joke that I actually do like that comes up where the dog, again, I don't remember his name, he gets some good old-fashioned snow, some coke, and he snorts it. And then they do a Grinch joke where his heart grows 3 times that day, and then he collapses.
His heart grew 3 sizes that day, which is extremely unhealthy, most doctors say.
I actually thought that was really funny. That was set up well. I mean, it came out of nowhere, but you can get the big picture. It's a Grinch joke. It relates to something that a lot of people can understand, and it was funny. That's laugh number 2. I should have laughed a lot more because they've been talking about penises, but, you know, here we are. So, Dusty meets up with the drug dealer, kingpin guy, who turns out to be Santa Claus, and they have a good old-fashioned brawl, which ends with him brutally slaughtering Santa, which was fine, I guess. I guess it's shocking, but yeah, he then gets arrested, and that's pretty much the end of the episode. I'm not going to talk about the serialization stuff. It turns out the guy in the coma isn't actually in a coma. He's actually the kingpin guy, and he's planning on killing Kevin. I don't care. I don't care. This is one of the most atrocious viewing experiences I've ever had. This is worse than every single episode of Brickleberry I watched. There is nothing redeemable here. There is nothing to watch with any substance. Only 2 jokes in the entire episode were funny to me. One of them was actually set up with a beautiful Christmas song where I got to watch the characters react to all of that holiday cheer. They clearly weren't having any of it, and then he got jumped, which objectively was funny. The other one just shocked me because it was a Grinch joke, but in relations to taking too much cocaine. That was actually really funny. I enjoyed that a lot. Everything else had 0 setup, 0 substance, was either, hey, look at this genitalia, it's really funny, you'll love it, you'll want it, and you'll need it, or, hey, look, we just killed an animal, that was really funny, or, hey, here's us doing something so unbelievably shocking to a guy in a coma. Are you laughing yet? Are you laughing? Are you loving it? How did you like that scene? None of it works, at least for me. I just can't get past anything in this episode. It is one of the worst viewing experiences I've ever had, and if this is supposedly the best episode in the series, I am very, very terrified for where this is going. If I was to rate this episode 1 to 10, I would give it a 1 out of 10, which pains me to say. I don't throw those out lightly, but man, this was so hard to watch. The next episode I'm going to be watching is Showdown at Obese Coral with a 6.4 on IMDb. And I think I finally found a show that I can definitely say is at the top of the leaderboard for worst show I've ever seen. This is so utterly abysmal in every way. It's supposed to be a body positivity episode in a weird way, but it glorifies it and makes it disgusting and makes it so hard to watch Dusty. He's the main character once again for this episode, just being a giant tub of lard, getting everybody else to act like a tub of lard, and just eat constantly in disgusting, abhorrent ways, and all the jokes that go along with it. I just cannot, in my right mind, approve in any way. It's been so long since I watched something with a scowl on my face, my chest tightening, my right arm getting numb. Oh, it's happening. Oh, this show is just so shit. I'm gonna fucking die. Ah. Man, it's actually like sitting down and watching Ellen, unironically. Like, yeah, you give those people money and then take it away later. Yeah, you're a good person, Ellen. Like those people who can unironically watch that show with a smile on their face. That's what this feels like, at least to me. It's torture. The episode opens up with a fitness test and you think, okay, we're gonna get some good stuff out of this. We don't. They start doing fitness, Dusty shows up, he starts eating lasagna, and then he takes off all his clothes and he just looks like a big old lardy. Like I'm a big guy, you know. I struggle with overweight problems here and there, but I would never let myself get to this point where I would glorify being 600 pounds and be like, yeah, this is a good thing. Yeah, baby, I'm having so good, I'm so fat. And it's just so hard to watch. Like, him be so positive about it while doing such gross and abhorrent things that it makes me kind of angry. And Gina, of course, she's obsessed with him, and we get this weird, you know, joke where she's rubbing her squid, jorking her pork. I don't know, I've never had to talk about a female rubbing her clit on this channel, so that's very odd. You know, meowing her cat, to say the least, and she goes into the masturbation hut and she starts talking about how, yeah, sit on me, Dusty, sit on me like a poor person getting attacked on Black Friday.
Ah, squash me, Dusty, crush me like a poor person on Black Friday.
That was odd, kind of a funny sentence, but under the circumstances, I was not vibing with it. And they have the audacity to make a Westworld joke, talking about season 2, saying that it's horrible, comparing it to flies having dirty, stinky sex on a turd. Like, you produce this, you have people watch this, you have people maybe laughing at this, and you have the audacity to compare it to Westworld. Was Westworld season 2 the best thing ever? No, but compared to this slop, that if you showed it to a elderly man, I'm talking only like 62, he would pass away. Like, genuinely, this is such abhorrent slop, and you compare it to Westworld? Who do you think you are? So we then cut to Fitzgerald. He apparently has a dolphin wife. Yeah, he has sex with a dolphin, a actual dolphin, and he walks in and they're talking about how he doesn't do anything, and then it actually shows the two flies having sex on a turd, and he makes the Westworld joke again.
This is more entertaining than season 2 of Westworld.
Within 2 minutes of it already happening, it felt like they wanted to be like Family Guy and add a cutaway to the flies having sex, but they didn't know how to associate that, so they made it actually happen with the B-plot. And the B-plot is about Fitzgerald and his dolphin wife looking for a job, which I don't care about. Why would I care about this? You don't even make it interesting. It's just so stupid. It's actually unbelievably dumb. So then we cut to, what's his face? Dusty, who now is going to lose his job if he doesn't lose some weight. So he joins Weight Watchers and he turns it into a cult, and they all just start eating a bunch of food. And we cut to Gina, who is, you know, struggling with her masturbation issues, and she's like watching them through a window, and she's like, gobble gobble, you hungry hippos, and she's doing it so much that she's an addict and is just getting real freaky with it. And then of course, you know, how could we end this scene with such unbelievable comedy? We have them all eating and feasting, and Dusty grabs what he thinks is a pickle, he bites into it, and he's like, oh, it's a cat turd.
Oh, sausage.
Nope, that was the cat turd.
Starts just slurring down a cat turd. What was funny about that? I don't understand the idea that gross out humor in this sense is funny. I just watched a fat guy eat a cat turd. What is good about that? I don't care about it. Why was there no setup for that? There was just nothing. It's just him eating cat shit, and why? I just don't get it. Like, I've talked about Mr. Pickles when I make videos like this, but at least Mr. Pickles knew what it was trying to do, what it was trying to set up. That happened for no reason. I hate it. I hate it so unbelievably much. So he starts this, like, hernia or whatever, and then we cut back to Fitzgerald, who has a apparently son who is just a dog who is just dry humping him as he's talking to his dolphin wife about getting a job. So he quits his own job because his wife gets hired at SeaWorld. Wow, does that sound like a thrilling B-plot with a dolphin? There's no jokes, by the way. He just walks in, and I guess the joke is supposed to be that his dog is humping his leg, like, aggressively, and it's his actual son. And then the dolphin says, I got a job at SeaWorld. So he quits his job. Like, that's it. That's all there is. What is the B-plot? What is the point of writing that? Who in the writer's room was like, okay, so we're gonna have this guy, he's gonna have a dolphin wife, and his dolphin wife's gonna work at SeaWorld. And that's it. That's the joke. That's the focal point. That's all there is. I know people had to watch this and say this is good writing, this is good for a show. I feel like there had to at least been two sides of the coin, two screenings. You have one guy who's like, oh my gosh, that guy is dating a dolphin? That would never happen IRL unless you're a stinky, evil bestiality person. So that's what makes it funny, right? And then there's another screening with, I don't know, Arthur Morgan. Well, I'm afraid. He's dating a dolphin, Dutch. It's unnatural. Like, it had to be something like that to where somebody had to say something, because there's no joke in it. Later on, I guess there is a joke, but it doesn't even remotely relate to the fact that it's a dolphin. I don't get why he's dating a dolphin. Why? What's the point? Is it just supposed to be absurd that it makes me laugh? Because it doesn't. It doesn't. It's stupid. So we then cut to, the chief, and he's banning all the fat people, and we see this thing with John Goodman. That was a little bit shocking. What are you doing here, John? Looking for Boo? Kitty!
Starting with you, John Goodman.
I knew I'd be back.
I don't know, that's a Monsters, Inc. joke, I guess. There's really no substance to it. So he bans fat people. We cut to, Gina, who is just jorking her meat, rubbing her squid so much that it starts to become like a hernia. So she goes to the hospital, and I actually did enjoy this joke. It turned me from scowling all angrily to, you know, being normal, because I was so angry that I don't think I could physically laugh at that point. But, she's all like, yeah, my clit has grown, and he's like, clitoris? Which dinosaurs aren't real anymore.
It's a clitoris.
Oh, Gina, that's just not possible. You see, a meteor wiped them all out and they went extinct.
Which I thought was kind of funny. I actually liked that. That was funny. That was set up well. But either way, she has a giant herniated clit, so she has to put a cone on it and lock it up, which is odd, and she's not allowed to use it or else really bad things will happen. And so, Dusty, he doesn't really like this ban on fat people, so he just starts walking around naked. So we have a bunch of my 600-pound life contenders all walking around huge AF, all bigging it up. Yeah, so that's cool. And then he sucks the chief inside of him, which was very odd. Like, genuinely, he just sucks him in.
In there somewhere. Oh shit, I'm getting sucked in! Kevin, grab my legs!
So that's some great comedy going on there, I guess. I don't know. So we then cut to the dolphin again, he's dating and is working at SeaWorld now, and she gets fired because she's wet and was handling cotton candy, so now they have their own struggles, which again was pointless and didn't add anything to the episode. And you know what the culmination of this joke is? You know what it is? It doesn't even relate to the dolphin. It's Fitzgerald just walking up to his wife because nobody likes him and they don't have enough money for gas, so they're at the gas station and he's trying to get free gas, so he's like, hey baby, I'm gonna have to give the store clerk a picture of your dolphin pussy. What? Why? What is happening? What is happening? And she says, no, obviously, because she isn't a little skanky. She's not gonna do that. So he goes inside and he has a picture of his own asshole, which was just ready. He had that ready, prepared to use it, which is a question all in its own. And so he takes it and hands it to the clerk, and the clerk goes in his own masturbation hut and just starts jorking to it.
There's one thing I should let you know.
That's my butthole!
And that's the culmination of that joke. That's where everything led. That's where we are. Wow. Are you so happy the dolphin joke was present? Because I am. Wow. That was thrilling. That was amazing. God. I love this world. I'm so happy. We then cut to Gina once again, who has the cone on it, and Dusty, he walks over and he's like, oh, mama. And you know, you put something in that cone, I can't resist a lick.
What? If I see a cone, I gotta eat ice cream out of it. I thought we established this.
Why? What's wrong with you? Ugh. So, then, things just keep on getting more weird to where the big people, they're all eating at this, like, Golden Corral, which is a buffet, and they break in there and they kill a man and they all just start eating at it like pigs eating out of a trough. So that's lovely. And then the chief invades and it's revealed that the chief is a really big guy, like fat AF. So he's just been trying to hurt fat people because of his own insecurities, and I guess that's supposed to be the lesson. It's okay to be big, which, yeah, it is, but you should still want to be healthy. Just saying, like, you should still strive to be healthy. Like, you could love your body, which is great. Love who you are, but you should always want to be more healthy. That should be the overall goal. Here, it's just portrayed as eat whatever you want, get a heart attack, and it's still lovely. So, yeah, wonderful message. But either way, the Golden Corral catches on fire, and of course, here we have Gina's just wonderful hero moment where she goes to the restaurant, and she rubs one out, and just, let's just say, puts out the fire with all of her excrement.
God! She gonna squirt.
Yes, her excrement. Wow. I can't even lie to you. This episode changed my entire perception on reality. I now truly understand my purpose in life. I understand what I'm supposed to do, and what I'm supposed to do is just watch Paradise PD, the show where you get to watch nonsensical humor where they just constantly just talk about genitalia, constantly promote horrible things, constantly have some of the worst jokes I've ever seen. I get to see a herniated clitoris. What else could I possibly need in my life? If I was to rate this episode 1 to 10, I would give it a 1 out of 10. This is abysmal. There's nothing redeeming about it, and I never want to watch this again. This is rare for me. I usually always get to 4 episodes, especially in the 22-minute long shows. I usually strive for 6 episodes when I'm doing 11-minute shows, but I cannot do this anymore. I know I just said I had more episodes, but I can't do this. I have never ranted about a show for 14 minutes straight. The last time I ranted that long was about Margaret from Regular Show, and that was because I literally had every single thing in the database, all of Regular Show, in my brain. I have not been able to rant with no script like that for so long. I don't use scripts for my videos. That was just me shooting on this stupid episode with a little bit of notes right here, just bullet points about the episodes, and it was that god-awful that I just couldn't stop talking about how shit it was. And I feel like it was impacting the video because this is going to be so unbelievably negative, but this show deserves it. It actually does. This is leagues worse than Brickleberry. I understand, like, maybe seeing, like, the potential of Brickleberry, like, there was something there. Maybe if they toned it down a little bit, focused more on the actual story at hand, instead of just random shock humor. They didn't do that. They didn't do that at all. They took all of the shock humor, all of the gross-out humor, and just amplified it by so much to create this. And genuinely, somebody had to watch these episodes and say, yes, this is good. And if you are that person, oh man, let's play a game of musical chairs, me and you, 1v1. Oh man, I could take you out in a game of musical chairs, and you'll finally understand that what you did was unbelievably wrong, and it didn't deserve to exist. I haven't felt this passionate about hating something in so long. The last thing, I mean, nothing will top that Total Drama-Rama Heartberry episode. I think that's probably going to be the worst episode that I've ever seen for a very long time. But here, it's probably both of these episodes taking the second place. There is nothing redeeming. And I know I'm rambling on, probably repeating myself a lot, but that's just what this show does to you. It numbs your brain. It makes you question everything. It makes you hate everything. And it actually made me angry. It's like this show was rage baiting me into ranting about it. It's like that's what it wants. Maybe that's what this show is. Maybe it's just all a ploy, all a conspiracy theory to make you so angry that you want to watch the show and hate on the show and get your little cult of friends to all hate it with you. And if you are a Paradise PD defender, I would absolutely love to know why. I would love to know what you could possibly enjoy about this slop, where there is constant shock humor with absolutely no setup, where it's constant gross out humor, where it's constant just the most vile adult jokes you could ever find. I despise this so unbelievably much. I need to go and watch something to cleanse my palate. Maybe I'm gonna go watch that episode of South Park where Jimmy does steroids, or when Jimmy and Timmy join the Crips. That sounds like a great time. That sounds like it'll make my life so much better. Genuinely. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. You know, 2,000 likes. I know this video isn't going to get that many views. There's no way. That would take like 40k views to get to 2k likes, which isn't going to happen. 2k likes. And I will explore 4 more episodes of the show. Hell, you all can pick them. But I hope that I never have to sit down for this slop ever again. So thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please make sure to like and subscribe. I upload almost every single day. I have a 40,000 subscriber special coming very soon once I hit that landmark, and it is a surprise one. Nobody knows what it is. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. Bye.
On the 30th of October 2025, something unprecedented happened in British history.
It is, as I say, full-scale disgrace.
A British prince ceased to exist, not through death, but through disgrace. Prince Andrew, a man you've probably seen before, was completely erased, stripped of every title, every honor, and his name itself taken away. Now he's just Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, a private citizen. A private citizen that became such due to a 91% disapproval rating, which is the lowest in royal history. And the royal history, there's some of it's pretty low, so that is unbelievable. But of course, Prince Andrew is not the first in the royal family to have fallen. And if patterns hold, he will not be the last. And sometimes it feels good to watch the mighty fall. The British royal family has endured centuries of controversy since the English and Scottish crowns were united in 1603 under King James I. King Edward VIII abdicated the throne in 1936, vacating his titles, and now the former prince, Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, has had every association with his family stripped from him. So there's definitely a history of scandal and a lot to unpack there, but one of the most significant findings of all of this is that the scandals have not led to the monarchy's loss of power. That transformation from being something meaningful and executive to something meaningful occurred centuries earlier through constitutional evolution, but obviously the modern loss of legitimacy and public support, its authority between 1689 and 1911. And the modern scandals that the crown has faced have threatened something even more dangerous to the United Kingdom. That is the idea that the monarchy, which is meant to symbolize the stability, purity, and identity of the United Kingdom, is losing the faith of the people that justify its continued existence. God save the Queen! Hey, bud, how about no thanks? She died, I think. For the first time, 18 to 24-year-olds have expressed more support for an elected head of state at 42% compared to the monarchy, now at 41%, which is a shift from the 81% for the monarchy among the 65 and up demographic. So old people love the monarchy for some reason. I don't understand it. I don't get it at all. I'm American, so I don't understand a lot of stuff in the world. Please press the like button and feel bad for me. The National Center for Social Research, center, spelled incorrectly, found that over 25% of people in Britain believe that the monarchy was not important, and over 15% believe that it should be abolished entirely, which is, I agree with that. That's awesome. Younger people are increasingly less likely to support the monarchy, highlighting that the crown faces an unprecedented generational cliff. How about a generational fall off? Smoking that royalty pack. Am I right, fellow Gen Zs? That was not a Nazi salute, by the way. That was me just kind of getting down a little bit. Okay? Just so you're aware. For the first time in British history, children are being raised by parents who are at the very least divided, if not actively hostile towards the monarchy. And I tell you what, this dumbass has made it a whole hell of a lot worse. He's the Arnuki beast of the royal family right there. There's an Arnuki beast. That's a real Arnuki beast, by the way. I got it from the Scooby-Doo Spooky Island set. I didn't, I lied. I'm full of shit. Prince Andrew's long and storied association with convicted sex offender and suicided evil guy, Jeffrey Epstein, represents probably the most serious crises the monarchy has faced in nearly 100 years. And there has been some massive crises. And to be clear, it wasn't just Andrew's association that was damaging to the reputation of the monarchy. It was the family's slow reluctance to respond to serious allegations exposing their failure to understand how fucking normal people think, okay, about evil freak elites. Normal people don't like it very much. Just in case you weren't aware, Andy met Epstein in 1999 through Ghislaine Maxwell, though accounts vary on whether they'd known each other since the early 90s. There's reports of both. Flight logs show Andy traveled on Epstein's private jet in the year 2000, and photographs placed them together at Mar-a-Lago, which we all know who owns that place. Most damagingly, Epstein and Maxwell attended a party at Windsor Castle in June of 2000, celebrating 4 royal birthdays hosted by Queen Elizabeth II herself, which is evidence that the financier had penetrated the innermost royal circle. And the relationship continued even after Epstein's 2008 conviction for soliciting a minor for prostitution. Andrew visited Epstein's Manhattan mansion in December of 2010 and was photographed walking with him in Central Park. It seems like they went on a little date. Andrew later described this visiting as a convenient place to stay.
I'm just trying to work this out because you said you went to break up the relationship and yet you stayed at that New York mansion several days. I'm wondering how long.
But I was doing a number of other things while I was there.
But you were staying at the house of a convicted sex offender.
It was a convenient place to stay.
And claimed he went to break off the friendship in person because of his tendency to be too honorable.
It was definitely the wrong thing to do, but at the time I felt it was the honorable and right thing to do.
That is the most ironically, satirically royal thing I've ever heard in my entire life, guys.
It wouldn't be honorable if I wouldn't break up the relationship with my amorphous jelly pedophile friend Jeffrey Epstein, Jeffrey of Finance, you know.
Hey, how about you don't do that? Okay. From the perspective of a normal person, I would say if you're going to break off a friendship, why would you stay several nights and attend an Eyes Wide Shut themed dinner party to celebrate the release of Epstein? Like, that seems evil. That seems like an evil thing to do. That seems like something someone would choose if they're evil. His weird rationalization would come back to haunt him. The 2019 interview he did with BBC's News' Emily Maitlis was terribly received, doing more harm to his and his family's image than good. And Andrew's visit to Epstein and the disastrous subsequent BBC interview became so notorious that it was the focus of a TV miniseries starring Michael Sheen as Andrew and Ruth Wilson as Emily Maitlis. And to be clear, he wasn't just defending his relationship with Epstein, he was also defending against accusations that he'd participated in the same vile crimes that Jeffrey Epstein was found guilty of. An outspoken victim of Epstein, Virginia Giuffre, alleged in 2014 that Epstein and Maxwell trafficked her to Andrew 3 times when she was 17 years old. At Maxwell's London home in March 2001, at Epstein's Manhattan residence, and at Epstein's private Caribbean island. A photograph shows Andrew with his arm around Giuffre's waist with Maxwell visible in the background. Giuffre described Andrew as sweating profusely while dancing at London's Tramp nightclub before the alleged sexual encounter took place. So Andrew decided to speak with Emily on the BBC in an attempt to clear his name, but instead he destroyed his reputation through a combination of implausible alibis, tone-deaf statements, and a complete lack of empathy for the victims of Epstein, which at this point, it was really bad already. This is not something you're just like, blah, 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 blah. It's very easy if you're not guilty to just look not guilty. And he just somehow couldn't do that. Probably because, comment below, or whatever, his defense included claiming he couldn't have been sweating profusely as Giuffre alleged because he had a peculiar medical condition from an overdose of adrenaline in the Falklands War that prevented him from sweating. So
there's a slight problem with the sweating. I have a peculiar medical condition, which is that I don't sweat, or I didn't sweat at the time, because I had suffered what I would describe as an overdose of adrenaline in the Falklands War when I was shot at.
And of course, he also does not ever recall meeting Giuffre.
I don't remember that photograph ever being taken.
And the picture of them together, he's not convinced that it's even him in that picture because it, you know, it looks like a much sweatier guy or what. It's him for sure.
I mean, that is what I would describe as me in that picture. But we can't be certain as to whether or not that's my hand on her, whatever it is, left.
Another thing is that it was taken upstairs, and Andrew doesn't remember going upstairs. So
I don't remember going upstairs in the house. That photograph was taken upstairs.
I don't know if you want to believe this guy or not. I don't think his own family believed it. That shit was embarrassing. Andrew furthered his defense by saying he couldn't have been at Tramp nightclub because he was at Pizza Express in another place with his daughter Beatrice.
I was with the children. I'd taken Beatrice to Pizza Express in Woking for a party at a...
Recalling this event, his alibi with suspicious specificity, he said going to Pizza Express is an unusual thing for him to do.
Going to Pizza Express in Woking is an unusual thing for me to do.
Those are real quotes that this actual guy belonging to a royal family, an elite, the top of the top in the world, one of the most powerful, probably not, a relatively powerful guy, is saying these things in defense of being associated with a pedophile and being alleged as a perpetrator by a confirmed victim. Most damningly, Andrew refused to express any regret of his friendship with Jeffrey Epstein because of, and I quote, the opportunities that I was given to learn either by him or because of him.
And the reason being is that the people that I met and the opportunities that I was given to learn either by him or because of him were actually very useful.
He also described Epstein's behavior as merely unbecoming. He's a sex offender. Maitless during the interview countered what he said. She said he was a sex offender, and Andrew replied, yeah, I'm sorry, I'm being polite.
Do I regret the fact that he has quite obviously conducted himself in a manner unbecoming? Yes.
Unbecoming? He was a sex offender?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm being polite. In the sense that he was a sex offender.
So to Andrew, staying at a convicted sex offender's home in 2010 was the honorable and right thing to do to break off the friendship face to face, describing himself as too honorable during his PR nightmare of being questioned about his... it's just so dumb. It makes no sense, and you could never look more guilty than this idiot. The reaction to Andrew's interview was unequivocally and universally negative. The Guardian wrote of a grotesque mismatch between the Duke of York's language and demeanor and the gravity of the allegations. The interview was described as a car crash or nuclear explosion level bad and the worst royal PR crisis since the death of Princess Diana. So yes, it seems bad. And to be clear, the royal family is the furthest thing from a stranger to controversy. They've been through plenty of scandals. We'll get to that. All right. The iceberg is deep. Within 4 days, Andrew announced he was stepping back from his royal duties for the foreseeable future. In this statement, he says he continues to unequivocally regret his ill-judged association with Jeffrey Epstein, when in the interview from days before, he said he didn't regret it. He's so consistent. That's the thing about Andrew. He's the consistent one of the royal family. I can't stand these people. I can't watch them. I know a lot of people, they love the drama and all that shit. Something in me is like, I don't like kings and shit. I don't like it when people have two. I'm from Virginia, all right? You know Sic Semper Tyrannis is on the flag, and a woman with her tit out. There's a woman with her tit out and Sic Semper Tyrannis. It's in my blood, all right? We don't like the monarchy. I don't think many people like the monarchy. I'm especially one of them, okay? Words definitely have meaning, but Andrew's do not. He was abandoned by everybody. Organizations abandoned him. KPMG, among many others, withdrew its sponsorship of the Pitch at Palace scheme. Universities revoked his roles, and he became a pariah in the United Kingdom, although he still retained his titles until recently. So moving forward a bit, there are even more consequences for Andrew. In August of 2021, Virginia Giuffre filed a civil lawsuit in New York against him. And by January of 2022, after a judge rejected Andrew's motion to dismiss, Queen Elizabeth stripped Andrew of all his military titles and royal patronages, which means he lost the use of His Royal Highness. And this meant Andrew would be facing the lawsuit as a private citizen, not as a royal. Andrew settled the case with Giuffre in February of 2022 with no admission of liability, but acknowledged that he regrets his association with Jeffrey Epstein and commends the bravery of Miss Giuffre and other survivors. Those are his official quotes, which his words mean nothing, so who knows. The money Andrew used to settle reportedly came largely from then Prince, now King Charles, to be repaid after Andrew sold his Swiss chalet. These words I'm saying are things I've never thought I'd ever say. Skipping forward again, the final blow comes in October 2025 when King Charles III formally strips Andrew of all remaining titles following the posthumous publication of Giuffre's memoir. She committed suicide earlier this year. Andrew is now known as Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. He is no longer a prince. He was evicted from the Royal Lodge. His annual $1.3 million allowance ended, and he faces 7-figure annual security costs with only a $20,000 Navy pension as declared income. So, that guy, I guess. A YouGov poll also showed 91% of Britons hold negative reviews of Prince Andrew. Who are the 9%? Who are those people? How could you ever be like, Either way, that is the lowest approval rating ever recorded for a royal. The next lowest scores are Meghan Markle at 66% negative, followed by her husband, Prince Harry, at 58% negative. Now, why do people hate them so much? I don't know. Things are very bad for the royal family. Honestly, who cares? We mentioned Giuffre's memoir. Virginia died by suicide in April 2025, but still, her family issued a statement calling the title stripping a victory. Their quote is as follows. Today, an ordinary American girl from an ordinary American family brought down a British prince with her truth and extraordinary courage, which is absolutely incredible and also tragic and sad and complicated in so many different ways. This guy wasn't just some obscure royal, by the way, not a random cousin or a nephew in the lineage. This is the son of the queen, brother of the current king, King Charles III. And even though he's been stripped of his titles, he technically is still in the line of succession. And if for some reason the 7 people ahead of him died, he'd take the throne unless Parliament removes him, which I assume they would. That would have to be some kind of insane royal catastrophe for that to happen. So the crisis of erased Prince Andrew is only just the latest in a long history of royal scandals that reveal recurring tensions between duty and desire and just evil and how power kind of creates that. Do you like mobile games? So do I. I like them so much that I made one that I can play beside my videos when I'm yapping too much and getting boring. If you want to uncover the world of Grimtart, go to the App Store and download The Legend of Zolk. Now on Android, by the way. Go to loz.gg. It'll just take you directly to the App Store, or just search up Legend of Zolk to play our mobile game. And please, For the love of God and all things holy, let us know what you want us to add to it. Let us know. All right, guys? Also, tag me in your high scores on Instagram, and there's a chance we will reach out and give you a percentage off for Sour Boys candy.
Oh my gosh. That is insane. That's watermelon with the new Sour Boys level 5 Sour Up green apple, which is just like the most pure sour powder you can get. It's so good. Shit, go to sour.gg. That's another ad for the video. And thank you to The Legend of Zelda for sponsoring this video, even though it didn't sponsor. I'm not being paid for this advertisement. It's just it's my game. I just think I have to do that. I'm not totally sure. I own it, so I don't know if I'm allowed to do that. I'm not sure. I don't know the rules. It seems the blueprint for royal decline was truly established back in 1936 with King Edward VIII. This Edward had the shortest reign of any monarch since the Act of Union in 1707, when England and Scotland formally united to form the United Kingdom. With a reign of only 327 days, Edward's shockingly short rule ended when Edward chose love over duty. Edward had found love, but in a form that was controversial to the government, the church, and the public during the time. Wallis Simpson, a twice-divorced American woman, was not viewed as a suitable match for a king, but the nature of how the relationship began was also controversial. The relationship between Edward and Wallis arose from an affair, as Wallis was still married to her husband when these things began, a fellow by the name of Ernest Simpson. It was a big deal at the time, but not the massive one that it would become since the relationship had begun years earlier when Edward was only a prince. The family, of course, disapproved of the married mistress, but it wasn't like Edward was the king, so who cares? Then comes the death of King George V, Edward's father, and then Edward is now to be king.
By the king, a proclamation declaring His Majesty's pleasure touching his royal coronation and the solemnity thereon.
The affair between Edward and Wallis wasn't reported in the United Kingdom, but it was widely covered in American and European newspapers. And even when Wallis was to divorce Ernest to marry Edward, the match was still unthinkable for a king. As head of the church, it was forbidden to marry a divorced woman whose previous husband still lived. That's some biblical shit. Edward had even proposed a morganatic marriage in early December, often called a left-handed marriage, which is basically, you get married to someone of a way lower status than you, and they don't get anything. They don't get any rights, ranks, or property. But even this offer was rejected by the prime minister at the time. So the king was forced to choose between the crown and love, and he chose love. So, rather than creating a constitutional crisis, on December the 11th, King Edward VIII broadcast a speech to the nation on the radio announcing his decision to vacate the throne. He shared his desire to be transparent and the weight of his decision. So Edward's brother, George VI, became king, and Edward lived in exile. So the new King George made the old King Edward the Duke of Windsor, though he and his new wife would live primarily in France and travel around Europe, including traveling to Nazi Germany in 1937, where he and his wife had been invited and honored, even meeting with Adolf Hitler. While in Germany, Wallis was treated like royalty, and she had never experienced that in the United Kingdom, and even though the trip had upset American and Jewish organizations, Edward still wrote to Hitler after the fact to thank him. He said,
"To the Führer, the Duchess of Windsor and I would like to thank you sincerely. Our trip through Germany has made a great impression on us. Many thanks to you for the wonderful times that you had with us at the Obel Salzburg."
So you might say, well, this isn't such a big deal. This is, pre-World War II. We're not really sure what's going on behind enemy lines and Nazis. Maybe he's just schmoozing it up, and maybe Hitler really likes him. He's treating him really nice, and they're all just kind of, doing their weird shit over there in Germany or whatever. But Edward and his wife's relationship with the Nazi regime would continue, eventually even seemingly implicating Edward as a traitor. Officially, Edward accepted a position as a liaison officer with the French following the outbreak of World War II, given his residence in the country, but still, his friendly history with Hitler and his regime was not forgotten. When France fell to Germany in 1940, Edward and his wife fled to Spain, which was then Portugal, though it was the Nazis who arranged safe passage for Edward and Wallis from their residence to Spain and then Portugal. While in Portugal, they visited and stayed at the mansion of Ricardo Espirito Santo, a banker who allegedly dealt in stolen goods and acted as a banker to the Nazis. I don't know why I said allegedly. He's probably not going to sue me, I don't think. He's dead, I'm sure. They had at least 12 servants attending to them in their suites before Winston Churchill appointed him governor of the Bahamas in an effort to distance him from Europe and the Nazis. He was just like kind of great friends with them, it seemed. The reasoning behind this, and it makes total sense, is that the Nazis had wanted Edward, the former king of the United Kingdom, to join their cause and cut all ties with the royal family, speak out against Churchill, and so on and so forth. And then, if the Germans won World War II, they would install him as the king of the United Kingdom if it had ever been subjugated. Some high-level vassal stuff. The official report is that Edward and Wallace had narrowly escaped a Nazi SS team that was sent to seize them before they set sail from Lisbon to go do that shit in the Bahamas. And many theorize that Edward would have been quite willing to accomplish the Nazis in which it makes sense. I mean, he got shit on massively by Parliament, the people of Britain, and so on and so forth. And historians that support this theory point to several pieces of evidence that point towards a more secretive alliance between the exiled former king and those who had welcomed him as the royalty he had been in Nazi Germany. In 1939, only months before the war broke out, he made a public address that the BBC had refused to broadcast, in which he urged the British to do everything in their power to come to terms with Nazi Germany. So if you follow that with his supposedly Nazi-arranged safe passage to Spain and Portugal, where he stayed with the Nazi banker, the pattern starts to really take shape and it starts to make sense. But what is seen as quite damning is the discovery of the Marburg Files. The Marburg Files were Nazi correspondence captured by American soldiers, which were reviewed at Marburg Castle. 60 pages of the files contained information and communications between the Duke of York, Edward, and the Nazis. One such page was a top-secret cable from the German ambassador in Lisbon, where Edward and his wife had been staying with the banker who had Nazi connections to Berlin, which stated, "The Duke of Windsor is convinced that if he had remained on the throne, war would have been avoided, and he characterizes himself as a firm supporter of a peaceful arrangement with Germany. The Duke definitely believes that continued severe bombing would make England ready for peace." So not only does Edward state that had he been on the throne, the two nations would not be at war, he basically says keep bombing the shit out of them and then they will surrender. That's crazy. Those are his people, by the way. And in mid-September 1940, German Luftwaffe pilots bombed Buckingham Palace. Also part of the files were details surrounding Operation Willy, which was the Nazi scheme to kidnap and install Edward as the puppet king in Britain, since he'd been a favorable ally, especially when compared to George VI, his dastardly brother, who hated the Nazis or whatever. This seems to reveal that Edward was so bitter about his essentially forced removal from the throne to be with the woman that he loved that he was willing to throw his lot in with Nazi Germany if it could potentially see him reinstated as king. But maybe he changed his mind. I have no idea, guys. It's funny because this one starts off as like, oh, it's love. You know, he's putting love in front of his duty as a British guy or whatever and like that's kind of interesting. It's kind of Disney movie-esque. But then a few years goes by and it's like, oh, he's kind of a Nazi though. So yeah, there are a lot of dead British people because of him. So for a decade after the war ended, the story was buried thanks to collusion between British and American governments. But these files were published in 1957 and subsequently denied by Edward. He called them complete fabrications, and the Queen's office put out an official statement. The statement was, "The Duke was subjected to heavy pressure from many quarters to stay in Europe, where Germans hoped that he would exert influence against the policy of His Majesty's government. His Royal Highness never wavered in his loyalty to the British cause. The German records are necessarily a much tainted source. The only firm evidence which they provide is of what the Germans were trying to do in the matter and of how completely they failed to do it." So all that being said, Edward resigned from his post in 1945 after the war ended and never took up residence in the UK again. In fact, Edward and his wife were never formally invited by the royal family to any official public ceremony all the way until 1967 during the unveiling of a plaque dedicated to Queen Mary, Edward's mother. So this scandal, if you could call it that, stemmed from a relationship that the crown deemed inappropriate. Many of these scandals stem from relationships that are deemed inappropriate. So the pattern repeats when Princess Margaret fell in love with a Royal Air Force war hero who was 16 years her senior. Peter Townsend, a fighter pilot and squadron leader during World War II, saw some of the fiercest airborne fighting during the Battle of Britain, with 14 of the 20 pilots in his squadron, the 85th Squadron, being shot down, resulting in several injuries and several deaths. The two had met when Margaret was only 14 years old, when Townsend was to be interviewed by her father, George VI, and the brother of Edward, whom we just discussed. This old man described Margaret as unremarkable, as one would expect of a 14-year-old girl. You see, it was 8 years later, when Margaret was 22 years old, that the two would fall in love. And being 16 years older than Margaret, Peter was a 38-year-old guy, a 38-year-old man. But back then, the age gap was not the controversial part about the two's relationship. You see, before falling for Margaret, Peter already started a family, and he divorced his wife in November of 1952, a woman by the name of Cecil Rosemary Paul. And Cecil and Peter had 2 sons together. And similar to the situation between Edward and Wallace, Peter's divorce made him an unsuitable match for the princess. Their relationship had become public after Margaret was seen flicking a piece of lint or fluff or whatever from Townsend's uniform during the coronation of her sister, Queen Elizabeth II. And during this time, divorce remained heavily stigmatized, and the shadow of Edward VIII's abdication loomed large for the British royalty. Margaret could marry Peter, but it would mean following in the footsteps of her former king, Edward, and renouncing her titles, thereby removing herself and her future children from the line of succession. But unlike Edward, Margaret chose duty, and after 2 years, she stated in 1955 that she was ending the relationship with old Pete. She said publicly, "I would like to have it be known that I have decided not to marry Group Captain Peter Townsend. I have been aware that subject to my renouncing my rights of succession, it might have been possible for me to contract a civil marriage. But mindful of the church's teaching that Christian marriage is indissoluble and conscious of my duty to the Commonwealth, I have decided to put these considerations before any others." So yeah, interesting reasons, I guess, but royal biographer Christopher Warwick later revealed the real reason behind their love falling apart. That was she just got tired of that son of a bitch. And I quote, "But the bottom line really is that, and she said this to me, they'd been apart for 2 years. He'd been in Belgium. While there was still affection there, love was no longer strong enough for them to have married." So there's that. And aside from what's happened recently, I would say the most significant controversies to plague the royal family arose in the 1980s and 1990s, all stemming from the fairy tale relationship between Prince Charles and Lady Diana Spencer. Their wedding was record-breaking. Not only did it cost an estimated $170 million, but it was viewed by approximately 750 million people worldwide, and they received over 3,000 gifts with 1,400 guests. Sounds like my wedding that I had in April with my beautiful wife, who's my version of Princess Diana. But I'm nothing like Charles. I've got normal fingers. But despite the extravagance, the royal family support, and the public support, the two were ultimately incompatible. The two had a 12-year age gap, and Charles' continuing relationship with Camilla Parker Bowles doomed him. When they met, Prince Charles was 28 years old, and Diana was only 16 years old. And Prince Charles thought to himself, what a very jolly and amusing and attractive 16-year-old she was. He shared that thought in a post-engagement announcement interview. That's his words, not me making shit up.
Well, I remember thinking what a very jolly and amusing and attractive 16-year-old she was.
What a wonderful 16-year-old. My fingers are fat like sausage. Like bangers and mash.
All right. If he'd have said that in the year 2025, he'd have been crucified. The year 1992 would become a terrible year for the United Kingdom's monarch, Queen Elizabeth II. Now referred to as Annus Horribilis, or just a horrible year, it is a year in which the family saw multiple scandals converge into one. This big castle, called the Castle Windsor, would catch fire after a faulty spotlight set a nearby curtain ablaze, ultimately destroying 115 rooms, including 9 staterooms. 115? That's right, 115. They got houses with 115 castles. What? 3 of the Queen's children had marriages end that year as well. Princess Anne divorced Captain Mark Phillips in April. Prince Andrew and Sarah Ferguson separated in March, and Prince Charles and Diana would separate in December. Multiple scandals preceded the separation of Charles and Diana, ultimately leading to their inevitable split. Firstly, the wedding reportedly almost didn't even happen. According to Penny Thornton, an astrologer Diana had visited, Diana had told her that the night before the wedding, Charles had said he really didn't love her and didn't want to go into the wedding on a false premise, leading to Diana nearly not attending the wedding. Obviously.
Her friend and personal astrologer, Penny Thornton, reveals the claim, saying it was one of the most shocking things Diana ever told her.
Of course, they went through with it, but it was not a happy union. Charles became deeply insecure once he realized that Diana was becoming known as the People's Princess and that she was far more popular than he was. He's kind of a bitch. According to Lady Elizabeth Anson, a cousin of Queen Elizabeth II, Diana sort of metamorphosed into a very, very elegant blonde beauty. They did a visit to Wales, which was the beginning of, for Prince Charles, realizing they've come out to see my wife. They haven't come out to see me. Oh, poor little guy. Imagine living in the shadow of your wife. But here's where things get epic. Both began having affairs. Charles with his ex Camilla Bowles, and Diana supposedly had a 5-year relationship with her riding instructor, cavalry officer Captain James Hewitt, who suspiciously bears a striking resemblance to her son, Prince Harry. And I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I'm full in on that conspiracy theory. Diana even reportedly confronted Camilla at a party hosted by a mutual friend, but still, everything came to a head when the long-suspected rocky marriage drama went public in 1992, exacerbating the annus horribilis. In June of 1992, a book written by author Andrew Morton was published titled Diana, Her True Story. It revealed that, with Diana's secret cooperation, that she struggled with bulimia, attempted suicide several times, and detailed the affair between Charles and Camilla, as well as her deep unhappiness. It sold millions of copies and decisively shifted public opinion in favor of her. She was the ordinary girl who had been brought into the royal family just to be discarded for the prince's ex-girlfriend. It was even later adapted into a TV movie. And in August of 1992, just 2 months after this, Squidgygate exposed a phone call between Diana and actor James Gilby, who called her Squidgy, meaning soft and easily squashed. Diana complained about the family, expressed pregnancy concerns, and confirmed she was having an affair with Gilby.
It's so wonderful, isn't it? This is the feeling. Do you like it?
I love it. I love it.
It is absolutely wonderful. It's years. I feel about 21 again.
Oh, you're not at 33.
I know.
The tapes were given to the Sun, and a phone line was set up where you could call and pay to listen. And over 120,000 callers paid to hear the tape. This is pre-internet. This is like a YouTube drama in 1992. You can get people to pay to do that shit? That's crazy. When the tapes leaked, according to Ken Worf, the princess's former bodyguard, the queen was so upset that she personally ordered MI5 to conduct an internal investigation into the bugging of Princess Diana. That MI5 is their version of the CIA, by the way. And concerns of the surveillance of the royal family would only deepen that November of 1992 following Camillagate. Squidgygate was a leak of a phone call involving Diana. It would only be right that a phone call involving Charles also gets leaked. Camillagate, also known as Tampongate, was a call between Charles and his ex-mistress, Camilla Bowles. The transcript of the 1989 call exposed the affair in shocking detail, as the way they spoke to each other would in no way have happened if they'd known the call was being monitored. It's really weird that this is a thing that's just publicly available, and I feel kind of bad reading it, but I'm going to anyways. Here are some brief excerpts from the call. Camilla, you were awfully good feeling your way along. Charles, oh stop. I want to feel my way along you, all over you, and up and down you, and in and out. Camilla, oh Charles. Charles, particularly in and out. Camilla, oh, that's just what I need at the moment. Charles, I fill up your tank. Camilla, yes you do. Charles, oh God, I'll just live inside your trousers or something. It would be much easier. Camilla, laughing. What are you going to turn into? A pair of knickers? Charles and Camilla reportedly were made aware of the tape recording, though never believed it would see the light of day. And that changed on November 13th, 1992, when the scandal went live. It definitively confirmed Charles' adultery and devastated his reputation. It raised red flags about the dignity of Charles and the royal family as a whole, and this was the family that was supposed to be the shining example of honor and duty to the people of the United Kingdom, whatever the symbolism nonsense. You see, it's kind of unclear to me, but the monarch for the United Kingdom is the head of the church. And throughout the Bible, I don't know if you've read the Bible, but Christians are told to honor their wives, and divorce is bad. Divorce is pretty bad, it seems, I've read. And here is the heir to the throne being exposed for doing anything but honoring his wife. The relationship didn't survive the scandal, and in December 1992, Diana and Charles separated and divorced later in 1996. Diana received $17 million, but the loss of her title, Her Royal Highness. Kind of a good trade-off, if you ask me. Then tragically, the next year, on August 31st, 1997, Diana died in a Paris tunnel when her driver, Henry Paul, who was 3 times over the legal alcohol limit, crashed the car while fleeing paparazzi. She was only 36 years old, and while the country mourned the death of the people's princess, the royal family just remained coldly silent. The royal family had been staying at Balmoral Castle in Scotland when Diana died in the accident. Her sons were staying there as well. And the majority of the family chose to stay at Balmoral rather than return to London, which sparked public backlash. The perceived coldness towards the people's princess threatened the monarchy standing as people demanded the Queen show us you care. It was an entire movement. It was only when Queen Elizabeth returned to London and made a televised address praising Diana that public outrage began to subside.
I admired and respected her for her energy and commitment to others, and especially for her devotion to her 2 boys.
An estimated 2.5 billion people worldwide tuned in to watch the funeral held for Diana. The tragedy forced the monarchy to modernize and show more emotion publicly because of television and people wanting to tune in. 2.5 billion people, by the way, is almost half of the world's population in 1997. Just so you're aware. And of course, Charles, the current king now in 2025, would go on to marry his ex-mistress that he had during his marriage to Diana. He married Camilla, his ex-mistress, in 2005. So since then, he's been able to live out his dream of being her tampon. And believe it or not, the wedding between Charles and Camilla was also controversial, considering that Camilla, like many of the other previous controversies, still had a living ex-husband. To be fair, the stigma surrounding divorce had diminished largely by 2005, but still existed, and it resulted in the Queen not attending the civil service where they exchanged their vows. So Charles and Camilla's wedding in 2005 wasn't the only controversy that the royal family faced. Prince Harry, son of Diana and Charles, would land them in the crosshairs of people opposed to the monarchy when he attended a costume party dressed in a Nazi uniform, just days before Holocaust Memorial Day. There was a lot of outrage during this. The outrage was not restricted to just the United Kingdom. In fact, 25 European countries began weighing an outright ban of Nazi imagery and symbols in the wake of the scandal. To be fair, I don't think he was following in the footsteps of his great-granduncle Edward with this choice. It was just a stupid decision. I mean, it is pretty dumb to be like a royal, you know, and wear that. It's kind of dumb to do that in any ways, but like to be a royal and do it is especially dumb. So he apologized profusely, and there are actually a few similarities between him, his situation, his whole Nazi thing, and his granduncle. Him and his granduncle both married American women. They both eventually renounced their titles, and maybe they're both Nazis. I'm not totally sure. On January 8th, 2020, Harry and Meghan Markle, which is Harry's American bride, announced via Instagram their intention to step back as senior members of the royal family. They did so without consulting the Queen, Charles, or William. The announcement came as a complete surprise to the family and sparked intense media coverage. The Sandringham Summit followed this on January 13th, where the royal family met to discuss the decision made by Harry and Meghan. The ultimate decision was that Harry and Meghan would not use the titles Royal Highness and would not represent the Queen officially, and would repay $2.4 million in taxpayer money spent on Frogmore Cottage renovations. That shit is so funny to me. Are you... It's funny to Frankie, too. The taxpayer money is spent on their shit. Are you kidding me? Why does that exist? In their March 2021 Oprah Winfrey interview resulted in even more controversy for the family when it was revealed that a senior royal had questioned what color skin Archie, the son of Harry and Meghan, would have.
And also concerns and conversations about how dark his skin might be when he's born.
What? It implicated racial discrimination from the family, though Harry's brother, Prince William, responded by saying, "We're very much not a racist family, so I believe him."
And can you just let me know, is the royal family a racist family, sir? No, we're very much not a racist family.
Harry's January 2023 memoir, Spare, became the fastest-selling non-fiction book since UK book record-keeping began, revealing details of a physical altercation with William and criticism of Camilla as dangerous and drug use admissions. So they seem to be at odds, to be honest. The relationship between Harry and the rest of the family is completely fractured, and their popularity in the UK has plummeted. They're like American. They're Yankees, basically, at this point. There is a noticeable trend that we have seen here. Each generation of royals since record-keeping began, not really, they all repeat the same story. Forbidden love, public scandal, desperate insistence that they still matter. We're the royals. Please, we'll pay back the taxpayer money. Willingly, I guess. From everything we've talked about, the royal family seems less and less like a virtuous symbol of purity or a powerful family and more like a big joke. It's supposed to harken back to the glorious days of the British Empire at its peak, but to me and many others, it's like a privileged snob keeping up with the Kardashians, but somehow even more cringe reality show. But they're not the Kardashians. Their houses are built with taxpayer money. So there's a critical question that we have to ask. What the does the royal family actually do? On paper, the monarch performs several constitutional functions, but they are purely procedural. Before a bill becomes a law, it must receive a royal assent. It's the monarch's way of signing off on the bill, showing that they stand with the decisions made by the parliamentary body, which is good. At least there's a parliamentary body. The monarch has the right to refuse royal assent, but the last time that happened was before the American Revolution. In fact, most people that were alive when this happened, when Queen Anne refused to grant royal assent to the Scottish Militia Bill in 1708, they were probably dead by the time America declared its independence. That's over 300 years since the last time the royal family exercised one of its powers, or actually stopped something, or tried to. The monarch has no discretion to refuse a bill that Parliament wishes to pass. In 1910, Prime Minister Herbert Asquith described the monarch's ability to veto legislation as literally as dead as Queen Anne, which is a really funny way to put that it doesn't exist. The monarch is also responsible for formally appointing prime ministers, and that said, they must appoint whoever can command confidence in the House of Commons. So essentially, this piece of Parliament supports one member for PM, the leader of the majority part, then the monarch must appoint them. So it's more formality bullshit. So what powers do they have? It seems like both of the things I've mentioned are not actually powers. They're just formalities. Well, the monarch can prorogue or suspend or dissolve Parliament, but it's not like, I don't wish for this to be a democracy anymore, so I'm getting rid of Parliament. I'm the king now. For real this time. A quick crash course in UK government functioning from an American who is currently in the midst of our very own prorogue, government shutdown. America separates its powers from the different branches, the lobbying branch, the corporate branch, and then the other ones. These branches all operate independently, and they ensure checks and balances, hypothetically speaking. Britain mixes all of this. The prime minister comes from the parliament and can be removed by it. Where the United States government becomes a tug-of-war between its branches, the British government behaves more like a chain of command. Voters elect a parliament, parliament forms the government, and the prime minister, the leader of the majority party, leads the parliament. American presidents can't be fired. They can be impeached and removed that way, or they can be replaced in the next election. Now, obviously, if they're impeached, they have to commit a crime, abuse their power, or be a felon maybe, or something along those lines, or if there's misconduct. The Prime Minister of Britain could be removed tomorrow with a single successful vote of no confidence from the parliamentary body. Parliament can also be dissolved, but that's not even really comparable to a government shutdown like in the US. This is a regular occurrence that happens in the UK, usually before a general election. Whenever Parliament is dissolved, all 650 members lose their seats, leaving them all vacant, including the prime ministers, which are then filled through the democratic vote. The monarch is the one who dissolves the Parliament, but can only do so at the request of Parliament. And the same applies to the prorogation of Parliament, the suspension of Parliament. So it's more of a ceremonial role. It sounds cool. It's hard work for a monarch doing all this ceremonial bullshit that shouldn't exist, and they're rich. They're so rich and they use taxpayer money. I don't understand it. I don't understand it. I really don't. I don't get it. It seems so unbelievably stupid to me. And I don't like it at all, and I think it's cringe. The guy with the big fat sausage fingers is the current monarch, but the constitutional function that he serves is entirely symbolic. He just costs taxpayers money. And if this fat-fingered goober were to ever withhold a royal assent from a bill or a law or refuse to appoint a prime minister who had the confidence of the House of Commons, it would immediately create a constitutional crisis that would probably result in there no longer being any reality in which the monarchy has anything to do with politics. If not, maybe even end the monarchy entirely, because it would be really bad. All right, guys. The most real and practical power the monarch has is a diplomat who hosts leaders of other countries, such as when Charles hosts Trump or Zelensky. But obviously, a prime minister could also do that. It's just, you know, the guy's fingers are fatter or whatever. So the monarch has no real political power, is a total joke, and costs taxpayers money. It's ceremonial duties, rubber stamping what parliament decides already through an elective democratic process. The royal family cuts ribbons at hospital openings, and they inbreed and fuck each other to maintain some kind of strange royal bloodline. They're essentially just celebrities or movie stars or reality TV stars, but they receive the benefits of taxpayer funding because of whose balls they shot out of. It's pretty wild, dude. So, to me, an American, it makes no sense. But there are some people who defend the idea of the royals. And the most persistent defense of the monarchy is economic. They bring in more than they cost through tourism. You'll hear large figures thrown around, 500 million, 1.8 billion, even absurd claims of $19 billion somehow contributed annually. And these numbers are repeated so much that they're simply accepted as fact by some, but an anti-monarchy campaign group is showing that the mighty castles are built on a house of cards. Let's start with the official costs, the publicized costs, like the sovereign grant. According to the Sussex Royal, the sovereign grant is the annual funding mechanism of the monarchy covering the work of the royal family. Essentially, the royal family receives state funding to maintain royal residences such as Buckingham Palace and Windsor Castle. They pay staff salaries, cover security and ceremonial event costs, and also cover their travel expenses. And in exchange, they receive the revenue from the properties the Crown Estate owns, although the Crown still retains a portion of that revenue as well. The sovereign grant given to the royal family for the year of 2024 to 2025 was $86.3 million. And for the year of 2025 to 2026, it's been raised by 53% to $132 million. And it's expected to rise further. You know, the cost of living is going up for everyone, including the royal family. $100 million, dude? For reference, in 2012, when the sovereign grant was introduced, the grant amount was only $31 million. So a rise from 31 to 132 million is a 326% increase in the state funds that they receive, while inflation in the UK rose 40 to 50% over that same period. So I don't know. That's the official cost, by the way. If a forensic accountant actually went in and you know, pinched the pennies and counted the beans or whatever, the actual cost could be far higher and far more sinister. The Republic, an anti-monarchy group, has attempted to uncover the actual numbers, and their analysis found that the true annual cost to UK taxpayers could be about $510 million. That number comes from the security costs for 24 homes, profits from the duchies of Lancaster and Cornwall, which should be public revenue, costs to local councils, transportation costs from routine use of helicopters, private jets, Royal Air Force jets, unpaid taxes, and lost opportunity costs, since many of the properties could generate far more revenue if they were fully open to the public. Plus, all the ceremonies are state funded. The coronation of King Charles III alone cost $72 million. 21 million of that was just for police security. Remember, Prince Harry and Meghan spent $2.4 million in taxpayer money on Frogmore Cottage renovations, which they only agreed to pay back after they wanted to be Americans, I guess. Then there's Prince William and Kate Middleton's wedding, $34 million, with $33 million of that being the estimated cost for security. It's the same thing with Prince Harry and Meghan Markle and their wedding. $43 million of their $45 million wedding was like snipers and police and shit, drones and bombs. Now, for the tourism claims, the frequently cited £500 million figure from Visit Britain. The Republic filed a Freedom of Information request and discovered Visit Britain's own research department told their press office they had no evidence the economy would benefit from royal events. That 500 million figure is also highly deceptive. It's the product of adding up the revenues from all ticketed attractions that have ever had a remote connection to the royal family over the fucking centuries. That includes the Tower of London, where the royals haven't lived for centuries. Hampton Court Palace, also vacant for centuries. And other historic sites that would exist with or without a living monarchy that costs tens of millions of dollars to the taxpayers. Even if that $500 million figure were legitimate, it would still be insignificant, especially if the estimated cost of maintaining the royal family is even close to being accurate. It seems like bullshit. The tourism industry in the UK earned $127 billion in 2019, with $20 billion being from heritage tourism. That means that the royal family's contribution, even if it were that inflated $500 million number, it would still only be 0.3 of the total tourism industry, 2% of the heritage tourism, and 0.01% of the total economy. Embarrassing! And now I'm about to shout out the French, which is even more embarrassing for me. But the French comparison is devastating. The Palace of Versailles, located in a republic without a reigning monarch, attracted 8.4 million visitors in 2023, and that is 3 times more than all UK royal palaces combined, which managed just 2.75 million visitors in 2023 to 2024. Buckingham Palace, still occupied and therefore only open about 12 weeks per year, received just 646,000 visitors in 2024. Windsor Castle, the most popular royal residence, doesn't even crack the top 20 on the UK's most visited attractions list. Those stones out there get more people. Big old rocks. Hate to break it to you, but the tourists aren't coming to see the royals. They're coming to see the historic beauty and the buildings that are there. And all of that would still exist if the monarchy were gone. Graham Smith, the chief executive for Republic, the anti-monarchy which we've been talking about, believes that the rising anti-establishment mindset with younger generations will ultimately spearhead the undoing of the monarchy. And we will continue to see support for figures like this fall over time, which, you know, that support will go to YouTubers and influencers online who are the modern monarchy. All right, guys, we need your support. Now I need taxpayer money. Just kidding. It is just entertainment, and it has been for a very long time. As an American, I feel like the monarchy would just be better off gone. All right, guys, I don't really give a fuck about it. You know, I don't think it does any good. It seems like they're all a bunch of scandalous deviants. Seems like they're all pieces of shit. To be honest with you, not a single awesome thing have I seen any of them do. They all cheat on each other. So, you know, why? We have a goofy-ass government here in America, but at least we can, you know, tar and feather them. We can't. We can't. Yet. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed, press the like button down below. Go to the Gump Club to get behind-the-scenes footage. We're going to start posting on my other channels. I got some good plan. Been working on stuff behind the scenes, all right, guys? Go to loz.gg to play the Legend of Zolk video game. Go to sour.gg to buy some candy. I have a candy company. We make 4 new flavors every single month. So thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next one.
Ma'am, listen. Ma'am, I'm trying to tell you something. Stop talking.
This is Remy, a very angry tech support scammer.
Stop talking.
I just need help. And now imagine what happens when a rival scammer pretends to be his boss and fires him.
I'm the verification officer, Mount from FTC. I'm calling you to check everything is fixed or not.
I spoke with someone named Remy. Is Remy available? Could I speak with Remy?
You won't be able to get in touch with them, ma'am.
I want to talk to Remy. I don't want to talk to this guy. Remy was mad.
I'm hacking into Remy's computer. This is was you, right?
Yes, that's the recording.
We fired Remy, ma'am. We fired him. Remy is a scammer. He's not gonna be there anymore for you.
Wait,
I didn't want to tell
he's
you
the bad guy?
because,
He's the
you
hacker?
yes, ma'am. He's the bad guy. You
Oh
were
my
supposed
god!
to go
Oh, hold
wrong.
on one second. Hold on one
To
second.
go wrong, so
Hello?
Hello, hi Linda. This is Remy.
Remy.
Microsoft, I had a word with you yesterday.
Remy, in a wild turn of events, someone from the FTC called me and said that you got fired.
Ma'am, those people are hackers.
What the heck?
This is the story of how I made two scammers hate each other.
You're not listening to me. You're keep talking.
But